One area I feel like I've definitely been moved left on is UBI. And, when Andrew Yang was first putting it out there during the presidential primaries, I was kind of iffy about it, especially considering, he kind and his viewpoint of UPI, it's kind of like would replace some of the other programs, federal programs that are already available to people. And in my mind, I was like, I don't think $2,000 a month really would be enough to overcome or supplant all those federal programs that some people that are making very very low incomes are making. Regardless, I think we need to figure out a way to get that done. And you saw through the pandemic, as soon as they sent out that $1,200 stimulus check way back in the beginning of the pandemic, it reduced poverty by some crazy amount immediately. That's what happens when you put money in people's pockets. And there's always this, of course, trope that poor people, from the welfare queens of the 90s, right? And after welfare reform, which happened, under Bill Clinton, and welfare reform basically meant slashing the social safety net. So that's been a pervasive topic, and a place that American politics has always looked down upon. Poor people saying, oh, they don't know how to, handle their money. That's why they're poor, all this type of things. When in reality, poor people probably know how to handle their money the best because they don't have a lot of it to spare. And if they don't save it and they can't pay their rent, they'll be on the streets. So obviously poor people, when you give people money, you put money in their pockets, it stimulates the economy. They use it for things that they need, all these things. So there was a study in Stockton, California. It's Northern California. And I remember reading about this. It started 2 or 3 years ago, and they just basically got some of the results from that study. Before we do that study, I want to show y'all this tweet from AEI. It's some conservative think tank, I guess, like a policy institute. And it says child allowances run the risk of increasing the number of single parent families in which no one is employed. That would potentially worsen entrenched poverty in the long run, reversing gains made since the welfare reforms of the 90s. So, there's so much packed into that one tweet. There's, a lot of dog whistling going on there, even mentioning the welfare reforms of the 90s. They won't say welfare queens anymore. They know that's not PC enough to say anymore. But they will say that, runs the risk of increasing the number of single parent families in which no one is employed. Like, that's just dog whistling towards, poor black and brown people who don't have, two parents in the home. And if you actually just give these people money because they have children, then they're not going to work and all that type of stuff. Of course, we know that's completely BS. And I'm really excited to show you guys this study, which it's not really, it wasn't a child allowance, but it was, child allowance, you're giving the money to the adult in the family. And this is basically what the Stockton study did. So let's jump right into that. And this is from the AP. It says the Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration launched in February 2019, selecting a group of 125 people who lived in census tracts at or below the city's median household income of 46 grand a year. The program did not use tax dollars, but was financed by private donations, including a nonprofit led by Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes. Wow. Facebook actually doing something good. That's refreshing. When the program started in February 2019, 28% of the people slated to get the free money had full-time jobs. 1 year later, 40% of those people had full-time jobs. A control group of people who did not get the money saw a 5 percentage point increase in full-time employment over that same period. So the people that got the money actually were seven percentage points more likely to have a full-time job after this experiment was done. Continuing, after getting $500 per month for 2 years without rules on how to spend it, 125 people in California paid off debt, got full-time jobs, and reported lower rates of anxiety and depression, according to a study released Wednesday. You don't say. When people aren't struggling every single day, having to, not know if they're going to have to pay rent, have to decide between paying rent, paying for food, paying the car note, When you actually give these people more flexibility, not only does their anxiety and depression go down, they're actually able to go out and find a job that they probably like more than the job that they were just doing so that their family wouldn't starve. Like, it's just the most obvious thing. And I'm glad this study is showing this because, one, we need to dispel the notion that poor people are poor because they don't know how to spend their money or save their money. It's just completely false. These people are living on somewhere between $15,000 and like $25,000 a year. And even people living on 40,000, 50,000 in some cities, like that's nothing, you know? And so these people know how to save their money, know how to spend frugally. And it's just, we just need to completely dispel that notion. It's not true. And I'm glad this study was done to show that, with, actually experimental data, empirical data that we can point to. Amazing. And I'm hoping that this gains some more steam and traction because, once, our society becomes much more automated, you're going to have a lot more people losing out on jobs, and there's going to basically be a need for a UBI. And one example of someone who received these funds was Thomas Vargas. And he said the extra $500 a month was enough for him to take time off from his part-time job and find full-time work that paid better. He said he was depressed at the start of 2019, but now says he is happier and healthier. Every day I get to wake up and enjoy my kids, he said. My wife, we enjoy time together. We didn't have that before. I mean, you're improving this guy's relationship with his kids improved. His relationship with his wife improved. I mean, it's great, and this is something that we need to be pushing for because it needs to happen. And we're going to reach a point in this country with automation where people are going to be out of work, and living a decent life should not be tied to your employment, right? You should have the basic necessities taken care of by the state. That's the social contract, right? And we haven't been seeing that with our government, obviously, with our response to the pandemic. But even before that, with 67% of people living paycheck to paycheck, it's not sustainable. And experiments like this, getting data like this, and actually showing that putting money into people's pockets, giving them some flexibility, some wiggle room, not only does it improve their employment and their actual, the way they're able to take care of their family, but it also improves their relationships and it improves their mental health. And I think we badly, badly need that in this country. So I'm glad this was done. Let this be a lesson for us moving into the future. UBI is going to be something that, I don't think a lot of people knew much about it before the pandemic or supported it, but support for it has skyrocketed, and it's something that we need. Obviously, the $2,000 check should have been recurring. I mean, it should have been $2,000, and they should have been recurring in this last bill. Obviously, that didn't happen. I didn't think any of us expected Joe Biden to actually have recurring checks in that bill, but it's something that desperately is going to be needed in the future.